Hello and welcome back to UIInsight. I'm Stephen Chalmers, and today I'd like to talk about redundancy. We'll get to a couple of forms that show some redundancy, but I want to start off with a road sign. So this road sign is nearby where I live, and it's a little bit unique because it's showing addresses for a segment of a road. So in that regard, it's a bit special. And that actually caused me some problems with a redesign that I proposed for it. I ran it by a few people and it wasn't perfect. But anyway, the problem with this sign is it has a lot of redundancy. It says West Titan Road 8 separate times. And that doesn't seem ideal. At a glance, it makes it look very cluttered. It looks like, wow, that's a lot of information I need to read on that sign as I'm driving by at 50 miles an hour or whatever. So let's look at what we can do to improve that sign. The first thing we can do, and certainly should do anytime we have redundant labels, is to align those labels. And what that lets us do is, as a consumer of this sign, we look at that and we see, oh, all of these are on West Titan Road. And the reason we can see that is that they're all in the same column. The W Titan RD is all taking up the same vertical space in the sign. So it's very easy at a glance to look at that, consume it, and see that it's all the same. So effectively what we're able to do once we realize those are all the same is blank those out. We know that they're all the same. That whole section of the sign is West Titan Road, and that lets us focus on what the differences are with that sign. And when we focus on what the differences are in that sign, we see that the numbers are all different, all in that same column, and the arrows are different in their own columns. And again, let's scroll back up quickly and look at the original sign as a comparison. So part of the problem with this sign, as I said earlier, was the redundancy, but it's also the inconsistent positioning of that content. This is another design, and this is the one that kind of bit me. As a consumer of the sign a couple of weeks ago, I saw it, I understood what it was talking about, and I thought it had a lot of redundant labels, so I thought this would be an appropriate redesign. And actually I showed this to some people without the word addresses in there, and they had no idea what this sign meant. So it's partly because it's a kind of a unique road sign in that it's identifying where the number ranges are, left or right. This design would certainly justify some usability testing. I added the word addresses in there, and I think that might satisfy the problem. And certainly it tremendously reduces the redundancy. One of the things I got to do by removing all that redundancy is I made West Titan Road text much larger. But again, the question remains, how understandable is this sign? So it's great to remove things from a design, but you can of course take that too far and then make the form not usable or the design not usable. So let's look at another example. This is a website for a local training company called Batke Howell, and let's zoom in on the training courses section. So this section is titled Training Courses, as you can see, and then it says Ajax Training, Business Analyst Training, C and C++ Training. So the point is training is very redundant here, and it's redundant to each element in the list, and it's redundant to the title. So naturally, it makes sense to remove the word training from each row. Of course, here we are with the recommended design, which removes training from each row and just lists the name of the course, Ajax, or Business Analyst. And in fact, visiting their site today, I see that they've changed it and they have corrected this problem. Let me zoom in on that section, where they title the section Training Course Catalog, and of course each row, each line item does not repeat the word training. So that's certainly an improvement in the design. Here we have a segment of a form, 4 checkboxes, and again a lot of redundancy. Include return address in quote, include original letter in quote, and so forth and so on. So there's a lot of redundancy here. These include is listed 4 times and in quote is listed 4 times. So let's take a look at a redesign for that. I propose that we move include and in quote to the top of the form as sort of an introduction to that section. Include in quote whatever of those 4 items you want to. Let's take a look at a comparison between those two. So the original had include and in quote in each row, which is, it's accurate, but it makes a lot of content to look at. That's a lot of words to read, whereas the proposed design lists what you're supposed to include in the quote as a title, including quote, and then each line item is very easily differentiated. That is, return address, that which is different about that line stands out. Original letter stands out. If you look at the original, you have to scan those lines to find the part of each line that's different, and that's a problem. So the proposed design, I believe, takes care of it. So removing redundancies makes it easier to understand differences. Thank you. And again, if you have any questions or comments, I'd love to hear from you at Stephen@UIInsight.com.